Hello everybody and welcome to a special episode of In the Driver's Seat with dubizzle. We now have special guests on our show, and our first guest today, of course, is Wojوليا DXP. Julia, thank you so much for joining us on this special episode.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
I'm, of course, a very big fan of you for one reason, and that is the car that you drive. So Julia owns something really, really cool. And you know what? I was going to save it for later, but we might as well just go right into it. Julia, tell us the car that you drive, because you know I'm already jealous that you have this car.
I drive the iconic American muscle car, which is the Chevrolet Camaro V8, and it is a modified one, purple color. So
one of the reasons that I really, really am jealous of her car is the color. You know, you have such a gorgeous paint shade on that. What was the mindset behind it? Is purple your favorite color, or?
Yeah, thank you. So the first thing when I choose the car, like I was inspired by Transformers movie. So I wanted the yellow Bumblebee. And when I was looking for the car, I couldn't find like a good V8. I only found one, which was V6, but I didn't consider that as a muscle car at that moment. So the only car I found was a maroon color, and it wasn't my favorite. So as soon as I got the car, I decided to change. And the first thing I thought is about making it yellow, but then I look around and I found like so many yellow Camaros around. So if I change, then I need to change for something different, something special. I was thinking about like blue color, but it's also something common. And then purple color came to my mind as something like unique. No one has it. I didn't want to go with a like pink color like would suit like girl choice. So I thought like purple would be something really special and interesting.
So I would 100% go for a pink wrapped car, as you can tell by my watch. I'm a big fan of the color pink. I don't know if I'd go like baby pink, that might be a bit too much, but I do like this shade of it here. But it's interesting, the choice of car. Now, is there a reason that you like the Camaro or muscle cars in general?
So I came to Dubai more than 10 years back, and just being from Europe, I always owned German cars. And the first car I got here was an Audi S8, which was also V8 4.2. But then I decided that I need some changes in my life. And I thought like, okay, as long as I'm from Europe and big engine cars, like are not allowed there, and fuel is very expensive and all the taxes and stuff. So I thought like Dubai is the right place to have a big engine car. The fuel back then was kind of cheap, so also didn't think about that. So the first, of course, inspired by a Transformers movie, it just was in my head for like a couple of years. So I thought like Dubai is the right place for that car.
So I'm from Europe as well. I think we are technically still Europe, are we? Maybe. I'm not 100% sure anymore with the whole geography there. But I agree with you. Big engines back home are just non-existent, right? They're so expensive. There's so many taxes. They guzzle fuel, and fuel is so expensive in Europe, you know. We know that. So when we come here, fuel is cheap, right? We can afford to run a V8. I mean, I don't own a V8 anymore. I did back in the day. I do kind of miss it. It's got that, you know, that essence to it, doesn't it? But what I want to ask you here, Julia, as well, is you're in a very interesting part of the car, world, right? It's rather uncommon for a woman to be driving such a massive car, or with a massive engine. And I would imagine you're probably getting a lot of interesting looks, and probably a lot of people are like, oh, she doesn't know anything about cars, just driving around in a V8. But you're shattering that norm. You know, you're breaking boundaries here with the car that you own. I know you said you've owned it for what, 10 years, you were saying?
Yeah, almost 10 years.
So how does it feel to be sort of like a person in a position that's sort of inspirational, that you don't have to buy something with a small engine? Yes, they're economical and good on fuel, but at the same time, it's also nice that you can get something that you'd enjoy to drive.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I always was into like racing. I think since I was 16, I was participating in different races back home. And when I came to Dubai, I also found that the car culture here is very impressive. So for me, like I cannot drive slow. It's just impossible. No matter which car I drive, and what I like about the Camaro, that the exhaust. I have a fully modified exhaust with the headers, with the catback, it's something like you can never get in Europe. You will never pass the emission test. So like till now, I'm enjoying that car. Even like I own a couple of other cars in those 10 years, and I see the difference when, for example, I drove my Porsche Cayenne when no one even paid attention, no one looked at me, like it's a normal car.
True, yeah.
But when I drive my Camaro, like on a
Heads are turning, rolling.
every single traffic lights, everyone wants to race. Like, because when they see me, first they don't realize that it's V8, it's modified V8, it's a tuned. So like I invested a lot also in modifications with that car. So my first I would say like my first journey with my Camaro started by police impounding me on the second day when I owned that car.
2 days and you got impounded?
Yes, and the reason was reckless driving. Then it happened that actually I had 3 cases when police pulled me over for the racing, but still it didn't stop me because like I couldn't even drive for slowly because it's just impossible with these cars. It just gives you that passion and that's adrenaline. So it's just every single time I drive this car, it just gives you that.
It gives you that feeling, right? I know exactly what you mean. I've got a 2-liter four-cylinder car at the moment, and while I love it to bits, it just doesn't have that same feel, the same power, that essence, like I said before, of owning a V8. You don't have that raw power. Yeah, they tried to emulate it. I mean, if you look at Mercedes, what they did with the C63 lineup, they discontinued the V8 and they put the Turbo 4. And now all of a sudden they're going back to the V8 because they realize that people want that car. Yes, emissions are getting tighter around the world. Yes, they have to conform to these rules and regulations. But at the same time, people want V8 still.
Yeah, exactly. Because the second car I got after my Camaro was an Audi R6, which was a V10 twin turbo. So it's nothing to compare with the Camaro power, but it was like, it's just a sedan. So from outside, when people look at you, it looks like A6, like a typical Audi, like nothing. But of course, when you accelerate, it's impressive. It's like the same engine which Lambos have. But driving Camaro is still different feeling. It's still like that's even that look till now. I'm enjoying looking at my car and the way, of course, it's not like easy to drive that car. Like when people sit with me, they say like in a tank because you don't see much around. But for me, it gives that real feeling of driving, like powerful car.
I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. There's nothing quite like an American muscle car. There's nothing that can compare to it. Yes, the Europeans make fantastic V8s, whether it be turbos, naturally aspirated, supercharged. But when it comes to American muscle and American V8s, there is nothing that compares to it. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. I know I'm a Volvo fanboy. I know I'm a wagon fanboy, but there is nothing like a V8 American car. Well, Julia, you've come down here to the dubizzle Cars Hub today to check out a few things that we have here, including the car inspection process. So you've kind of seen how it works, so I want to get your thoughts on what you think we do here, what you think of the whole process that we do here with the cars.
I think that's absolutely a must-have process when you buy a car in Dubai, because that is the only way when you can inspect the car, when you can know all the history, because people always say no accidents, like ladies dreaming, which I would never rely on after knowing myself. And this is very important to check your car from A to Z before buying that, because it's a big investment in general.
Having an inspection is very important because it shows you underlying conditions. Like, for example, let's go back to the V8 topic, right? A lot of these cars are used, they're abused, and a lot of people will try and hide history. They'll cover things up, but they'll be repainted, new engines, all these kind of things. An inspection report kind of gives you that satisfaction and that security that you're buying a car that's not going to fall to pieces. Because you summed it up pretty well there. A car is an investment at the end of the day, Well, maybe not an investment. It's a devaluing asset. Some cars are valuating assets. I think V8 is certainly going to become a valued asset soon enough. But in the long run, cars do depreciate pretty fast. But as we were talking about this before, the market at the moment is interesting. But Julia, thank you so much for joining us on this episode. Thank you for coming down, and thank you for telling us about the story. I'm pretty sure you hold a world record with that 48 hours of impoundment. I've heard stories. I've never met anyone that's actually done it, though. But thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for inviting me. My pleasure.
Thank you. And thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you soon.